we go. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis Scholl, and I'm the president and CEO of Oolite Arts. We wanted to take a little bit of time today just to give the opportunity for those of you that are interested to hear a little bit about the background behind the Home and Away program, why we do it, what we hope to accomplish with it, the opportunities that are before you this week, because we're closing out the applications maybe on the 30th. I think that's our date. And I'm also joined by a very good longtime friend from Artpace, and I'll introduce him in just a minute. He's a very special guy, and I've known him for a really long time, actually. So we want him to talk a little bit about that opportunity. I'll go to the first slide if that's okay. Maybe I mean the second slide. Okay, I can't see the slide. Are we going to share screen? Is that how I'll see it?
Amanda's going to put up the slide.
Okay. So, well, while we're waiting for that, so when we began to talk to artists about Oolite and what it is that we could do for folks, there were really two things that were important. One was the opportunity to have their work seen by major curators, and of course we do that through our talks program. And additionally, the opportunity to go on some of these very high level residencies that will make a difference on your CV. And we began to use some of the relationships that I have, that Esther has, and reach out to the various residencies and say, you know, would you entertain the idea of having an Oolite artist resident in your program? And in some cases, the opportunity was that they said, yes, if you'll nominate somebody, we'll consider them under our standard guidelines and take them in. And we have that relationship with Rauschenberg, for example. You know, that's a situation where we forward our recommendations and then sometimes they choose somebody. So we're still working within their guidelines. In other situations, we're able to go and say, how about an Oolite takeover? You know, how about you've got next week, we're taking 14 artists to Atlantic Center for the Arts, one of the great residency programs in this country. And I judge residencies by who was there, who came, who thought it was worthy. So if you look at the Atlantic Center for the Arts artists that have attended, if you look at the Artpace artists that have attended, and I've asked Riley to give you a little clue as to who they are, look at Anderson Ranch, who's been there. So we're trying to reach out to those residencies and create opportunities for Mama-Dade's visual artists to participate. And there are varying lengths. The one for ACA next week that's already been juried and chosen is a 7-day residency. The two we're going to talk about today are each 5-week residencies. What's I think important about that is if you're an artist and you can find the time, we will make sure that you're able to attend financially. So we provide a $500 a week stipend for anybody that is chosen for one of these residencies and decides to go. There's also housing there. And of course, if there's any tuition or costs of the residency, we pay that, and we pay all your travel costs. And the reason we give the stipend is because it's great that you're going to get to go to a residency, but somehow, some way, you got to make rent at home too. So that's what the stipend is for. It's also for incidentals and things like that. But every program is different. And so today we're going to talk about 2 specific programs for which this call is open right now. Go to the next slide, please. So the first one is Anderson Ranch Art Center in Snowmass, Colorado. And I'm actually going to talk about that one because I've spent so much time there and I love it so much that I just think it's an amazing, amazing place. Some of you may know that this year in February, we spent 5 weeks there with 14 artists. And we were lucky enough to fly home. Esther got everybody on the plane and home on March 10th. And of course, everything locked down here on March 13th. So if it hadn't locked down, I don't know, they might still be there. The artists might be happy about that. I don't know. But we're looking at next year, and we're looking at a residency there for 5 weeks from February 3rd to March 9th. The ranch has everything. It's got an amazing wood shop. It has an amazing print shop. It has a multimedia center for filmmaking and video art. It has one of the best ceramics programs in America. It's just an incredible place. And what we propose to do, like we did last year, is take it over completely. They have room for 14 artists, for each of them to have their own on-site living quarters. And so what we're proposing is, once again, to pick 14 artists to go out there for that time period. And it's just a really special place and a really wonderful time to be there, frankly. It was very funny last year because a lot of the artists, us all being Miamians, because you have to be a Miami-Dade resident to participate in this program, many of them had never seen snow before. And so I can assure you they got a lot of snow when they were out there. Why don't you switch, Amanda, to the next slide. So Artpace is, again, a place that I love greatly. Artpace was founded by Linda Pace, who was a close friend of mine and an art collector. We even collected some art together. What we're proposing is to have another 5-week residency. It would be the end of March to the end of April. They have room for 3 artists at a time. That's how their program works. And much like the Anderson Ranch, you have to apply by November 30th at our website. But I've got with me today Riley, and I would like Riley, the head of Artpace, to come on and tell us a little bit about it. Riley, can you unmute? And there you go. Riley Robinson is the executive director of Artpace. Riley, I mean, I've known you forever, and I've known Artpace forever, and I even served on the board for a while. Tell folks why it's special. I mean, when I think of special, I think of that list of names of artists that were there. Tell folks some of the artists that have been to Artpace.
First of all, thanks, Dennis, for including Artpace. We're really, really excited to be part of this program. We've got an amazing place here in San Antonio, Texas, in the middle of downtown. And in the last 25 years, we've served 250 artists through our International Artists in Residence program. And some of those artists have been Golden Lions at Venice. There's been 5 Turner Prize winners. We've had 9 MacArthur Grant Fellows go through Artpace, and a few have received their grants after they've done their Artpace work. I think we counted up the Whitney biennial artists, and I think we got to about 90 when we lost track. So we think we've got a pretty good record of art, but each person is individual, each person is different. That's the way we treat it. It's going to be a time and space residency with a very comfortable apartment, walking distance to a number of things in downtown. And I hope to get the artists in residence introduced to other people to kind of expand where you might show and what you might think about for art. And that's what the Artpace residency will do.
Yeah, and what kind of facilities are there for artists working? I mean, what is there for them to use?
The apartments are really quite comfortable, and some of the work can be done in the apartments. They're about 500 square feet. Then we've got a pretty good shop across the street with woodworking, a few kilns. We've got CNC machine with someone who knows how to use it, and a lot of the welding equipment. We also have a pretty good computer facility for video editing, but mainly we've got the town. We've got San Antonio and our relationships with. After 25 years, I know everybody in town, and I really want to make those introductions to hopefully expand artists' opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an extraordinary place. Do you still have Taco Tuesdays?
It's tacos every day down here.
And what's the weather like in late March to late April?
It's going to be around 80, probably start to get hot. We might have a 90, 100 degree day thrown in there. Maybe a little northern would come through, but it'll be a really nice time to be in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's I've spent a
No
lot of time
snow.
there, and
No
I
snow.
know it well. So everybody, if you get a chance, go on the Artpace website and take a look at some of those artists that Riley was talking about, because it will blow your mind who has been there. Let's go to the next slide. So again, the key dates are for Home and Away, Anderson Ranch, Snowmass, Colorado. It's February 3rd to March 9th. You need to be able to clear your schedule for that. And the applications are due about a week from now. And for Artpace San Antonio, the key dates are March 22nd to April 26th. Again, you got to be able to clear your schedule to be able to do that. And it's the same application date, and it's the same application. So we're not making you apply twice. You'll just tick the box on there as to whether you want to be considered for one or both of these opportunities. They are both extraordinary, and they will make a difference in your career. So I'm really excited about that. And let's, I guess the one thing that's on everybody's mind before we go to questions is COVID. What are we doing? And of course, Riley, you want to talk a little bit about your protocols?
We've worked really, really hard and actually just completed a successful in-person residency with beautiful artwork right now. So I know that we can be successful at it. Most of the things are standard, from masking when you're in public. Inside the building, we ask that artists get a test once they arrive to Artpace. We could help tell you where to go to get those tests to kind of start your bubble. The buildings is cleaned twice a day. We don't have that very many people in the building. Most of the staff is working remotely so that there's just lower contact. We've done things like put the the HEPA filter, air filters in the apartments, so it cleans the air as it goes through. And I'm also watch what the city does. We have a pretty careful mayor, very smart. We're also run by a county judge, kind of old school Texas, but he's a sharp guy. Both of them are really sharp, and they lead by data. So it's very easy to go see what the situation is in Texas by going to the COVID-19.sanantonio website.
COVID-19.San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. At Anderson Ranch, it's very similar. They spend a lot of time putting protocols in. They're working hard at it. The other thing, Riley, is everybody gets their own place. You're not bunking with anybody. I mean, you have 3 apartments in the ranch. We have 14 separate places for people to be. You get your own room basically, and I think that's something to be considered. So now I want to just say that COVID is COVID, and we're making decisions almost every day about how to live our lives based upon it. And so if we were to agree that this was something that we could do, and we picked a group, and suddenly it became less safe, or we felt like it wasn't okay to gather people, we just stop, and I will say though that if you're chosen and you're not able to go because we stopped the program, when we restart the program, you won't be rejuried. You will be eligible to go. So even if COVID is something that it's such an individual decision that people are treating it as to how they're going to personally respond to it. But I will tell you that if you wouldn't be willing to go now, but you're interested in applying, please do so, because again, if we decide not to have the program, you'd still be eligible to go when we do launch the program again. So with that, I'm going to say, I'm sure people have some questions, and we would like to hear those questions. And Esther, I assume we put them in the chat. Is that right?
Yeah, if you guys want to also raise hands, there's a raise hand function, and I am a co-host, so I can unmute you. Or if
Esther's the voice of God right now, in case you're wondering.
Yes, I am the voice of God. But if you're shy, put it in the chat, and we will answer all questions. Any takers? Oh, here we go. Does Artpace accept filmmakers?
Yes, we accept filmmakers. Now, do you mean film or video? We've done both. We've done Super 8, 8, 16, and we did a 32 or 35 millimeter.
One of my
A lot of
favorite
video.
films ever made for the art world was made at Artpace. It's by Jeremy Deller, and he went to a cave, just outside of a cave, where these bats would launch every night. And it's an interesting story because Jeremy had been at Artpace a really long time throughout his residency, and he basically had nothing. He told me the story personally, so I don't mind repeating it. And he just went out there and brought a camera and shot it, and that became really one of the things that helped him with the Turner, the Turner Prize nomination. I mean, that was a really big moment for him, that piece. So yeah, very interesting.
Chris says thank you. Okay. Anik, I'm gonna butcher her last name, Duvier Lingondi. She asked, how is the jury process? What are you looking for? Do you need a specific project? I think that's Dennis's question.
Right. You don't need a specific project. The jurors, depending on who we choose to be the jurors, may be looking for different things. The mantra here is we want to give you an opportunity that can help you move your practice forward in a different way. That's really what we're looking for. They're definitely looking at CVs, I'll tell you that. They're looking and saying, could this person benefit in a unique way from this opportunity? And so sometimes you might say, well, I definitely want to go to Artpace because I'm working on something, either geographic or facilities wise or equipment wise or something like that. It's the same thing with Anderson Ranch. If you go and say, look, I'm a ceramicist and that's, ceramic heaven, I think the jurors are probably going to pay attention to that. But the idea is that what we're looking for at Oolite, when we ask the jurors to choose what we hope will be the 17 participants, 14 at Anderson Ranch and 3 at Artpace, what we're hoping is that it will be something that will allow you to move your practice forward significantly. The jurors are generally jurors that are in the art world. They are jurors that are mostly curators, generally is what we've been using, curators. Sometimes they know the Miami art scene, sometimes they don't, but we make sure we always have an aggregate of both so that there are jurors that do know the scene and jurors that are just national or international jurors that we want to get their take on the CVs, the applications, just blank. So we have a mixture of both.
Great. We have a rather interesting question by Jay Sebastian. He writes, do we have to donate a work of art to either of the institutions where the residency will take place?
No, not at all. I know that there are some situations where residencies may come back afterwards, say, look, we're having a fundraiser, et cetera, might you want to donate? And some people do and some people don't, but it's absolutely a personal decision, has nothing to do with your selection, and it would never take place while you were there or before you went. So there's absolutely no obligation from Anderson Ranch to do that. And Riley, you can speak for yourself.
That's something we've looked at for 25 years, and we've never done that. We don't. We know how to make it, talk about it, display it, ship it, pack it, talk to the artists, make them feel comfortable. That's not what I know how to do, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Although we're just like any other arts organization where we're working through the economy right now. But no, we don't ask ours to do that.
Right. So I agree with that. So I don't think you'll see that as an ask, really. And like I said, both of these places are 501c3s. They have budgets that they wake up on January 1st, and they are not fully funded. As most of you know, Oolite is in a different position. And so the ability to collaborate with them and to have the opportunity to work with some of the best residencies in the world, really, is something that we want to bring to our community. We think it helps both, that kind of collaboration helps both organizations, but we also think it helps get our artists, meaning the Miami-Dade artists, on on the watch list when people are paying attention. You did an Artpace residency. Oh, you were at Anderson Ranch. Maybe you did a Rauschenberg. Maybe you did Atlantic Center for the Arts. We think those things are things that do move artist careers. So.
All right, another question. Will the artists have guidance during their stay?
Well, so that's an interesting question because when we did the ACA residency last year, man, I was ready to give a ton of guidance, not just me, but bring people in and do this and do that. And what we found is that what the artists want most of all is time. And they want the ability to think and the ability to make work. So if you mean guidance in terms of how to use the city or how to use the things that are in the shop, or Riley may know a fabricator, on the other side of town that knows how to do what you're doing, that's always there, right, Riley?
Exactly. Those are, we'll make sure you understand the city and what Artpace has to offer. And if you have a particular task you want to get done, we'll point you to somebody who could help you do that, probably. We can allow you to do it yourself, but it really is a time and space residency. We're not going to leave you alone, but we're not going to bother you either, if that's a good answer.
Yeah. And if there's anybody that can get something done for an artist in San Antonio, it's Riley. He's been at it for most of his life. So, he definitely can. Anderson Ranch, again, you've got these incredible disciplines. You've actually got people there at the ranch that are in charge of multimedia, that are in charge of the ceramics program, that are in charge of woodworking, that are in charge of the print shop. These are people that are there to help facilitate your desire. And remember, when we go to the ranch, just like when we go to Artpace, it's just us. It's Oolite artists there on site. We won't always do that, but we found that the camaraderie that comes out of 3 of you together for 5 weeks or 14 of you together for 5 weeks is really a special moment. I mean, Esther and I have marveled at the kind of bond that was created, maybe because they were all cold and from Miami, when they were freezing out in Aspen. But there's been a real bond that's been created. Those guys still hang out, have a group chat, et cetera, et cetera. So we would hope that we would be able to build that idea again. So Esther, what else you got?
All right, a couple more questions. Kathy Rivera asks, do you use different jurors every year?
Yeah, the jury panel is almost always different. We might carry one juror over from the year before, but it's definitely different. So, and that's a thing that people lose sight of sometimes. Like if they submit something and they aren't chosen and think, oh, well, that's it. That is such a big mistake. As many of you know, I ran a program at the Knight Foundation called the Knight Arts Challenge. And I encourage people to apply over and over and over again, because you never know when you're going to get that jury that absolutely loves what you do. Maybe it's a discipline issue. Maybe it's just your personal work product. Maybe it's a CV issue, if you're from Mount Holyoke, Esther votes for you every time, those kind of things. So you got to keep applying if you're not successful, because in our case, the juries change all the time. Riley's never had the same juror twice in 25 years. He's had a different juror 3 times a year for 25 years. And they're the best, they're the best curators in the world. I mean, so it's a really special place that way.
Yes, I do love Mount Holyoke people. Okay. We have Juan Carlos Zaldivar, hello, asking, what are the requirements of the residency? Are there any duties such as lectures, etc.? Good question.
Riley, what do you got?
Each artist is completely different. Some artists need much more social engagement and want to talk about their practice. And once they're here, I will probably talk to the artists and see what they want to do. We're going to have a community that's interested in what you're doing. But again, it could be a time and space residency where you could just work on your own practice and stay relatively quiet. It just depends on who you are. And that's one of the things we'll try and work out with you. Maybe contact us ahead of time and let us know what you're interested in. And maybe we can get some events set up, or if you want to be left alone, we can do that too.
At Anderson Ranch last year, we did two things. We did probably the second or third or fourth night, we had artists do a Pecha Kucha, which is presenting their practice in 3 minutes or 4 minutes using 15 seconds for every slide. That was the only formal thing that we had people do. There was a lot of informal though. There was a lot of hanging out and a lot of exchanges. There was a community dinner that we held at the ranch that had over 150 people. That sounds so odd to say that now. You couldn't get 150 people in a room now for all the money in the world. But we had this beautiful dinner in which the community came out to celebrate the fact that Oolite Arts had kind of taken over the ranch. And so, but that was just more of a free exchange. We did a studio tour. Artists could talk about their work if they wanted to. A lot of artists sold work, which was very extraordinary to me that night. So there was a little show in the upstairs gallery at the ranch in which each artist put in one work because it's not a very big space. And that was very well received too. So there were those kinds of opportunities, but there was nothing formal. There's no 45-minute speech or anything like that. There are opportunities for studio visits. We tend to bring in curators sometimes to do studio visits. And while Riley and I haven't talked about it, we would probably expect to do the same thing in San Antonio. There's some great curators there. One of my favorites, Suzanne Weaver, is there. And I would definitely be reaching out to her. In fact, her name is on a piece of paper for me. I'll definitely be reaching out to Suzanne and asking her if she would be willing to do studio visits for the San Antonio artists when they're there, because she's a major contemporary art curator. So those opportunities are there, but there are no requirements. So Esther, we got anything else? Is it time for dinner for me?
Okay, we got one more. Funny enough, Amanda Keeley just asked, are there studio visits organized with local curators, artists? And she writes, oops, Dennis answered. So there.
Well, the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. And thank you, Amanda. There are generally some kinds of studio visits. And, at Anderson Ranch, we flew people in. And if Riley and I, talked about it and felt like there was somebody who they were particularly close with, who felt like they would be willing to come to San Antonio and do a few studio visits, we'd bring him in for a day. I mean, Riley's and Artpace's reach in the curatorial world is unlimited and legendary. And I mean that, completely.
Thanks, Dennis. That's super nice to say. I just want to hear what the artists want when they get here, and then we just respond and see how we can help out. Residencies are all individual, and so that's how we're going to leave it.
Well, maybe because you've done some residencies as a maker, that that there is a really broad spectrum from left to right. Anik asked, are there amount of pieces required to be completed? No. This time is for you. You're not doing anything for us. This is our way of saying to you, the jury has chosen you. That means you're, a substantive and material artist in our community. And Esther and my job is to make sure that we give the artists of our community as many great opportunities as we can. And this is simply a residency opportunity that, you might be able to get otherwise, but you might not. And so we're using our leverage both in the art world and the way that we're able to work these things out in order to give you guys the opportunity. So no requirements, no nothing. You can sit back and eat bonbons for 5 weeks if you want. Maybe that'll result in a piece. I don't know. So, all right, Esther, talk to me.
All right. I'm gonna start my video. Okay, I think we got one last question, and then Dennis can eat dinner because he eats very early.
It's 5 minutes after right now.
Yeah. How much experience is required, or is it just a matter of quality of work? And this is an anonymous attendee, and I'm assuming this is for the application.
Sure. Again, this opportunity, both at Anderson Ranch and at Artpace, is an opportunity where you fill out our form. It's not that long, and we give it to a set of independent jurors that are not in any way related to Oolite. They're arts administrators and curators from across the country with some from Miami themselves. They review the applications just like any other residency, and they come back to us and say, we think these 3 people would be great to go to Artpace, and here's a couple of backups in case they can't make it. And we think these 14 people would be great to go to Anderson Ranch, and here are some backups in case, you know, they can't work out the scheduling, et cetera. We're going to be back to people very quickly this time because the timelines are short, frankly. You know, Riley's got a little more time. He's, you know, by the time we get back to folks, maybe 100 days, but the ranch is coming. I mean, it's like 60 days from now or 70 days from now. So that's hard. You know, we want to make sure people can clear their schedule and make it happen. So it's just about who else applies and what, you know, what the jurors are looking for. And again, it's really about showing the jury that this could be a material opportunity for your practice.
Okay. Any last words before we close it out? And just as a heads up, this will live on the internet. So for those that do miss it, please share it with your friends. Application is open for 1 more week. So you have till Monday, November 30th. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to email me and then we can get that to you. But yeah, any last words? Riley, anything? Dennis?
This sounds like a really great program. I'm so happy to participate in it, and really looking forward to meeting the artists.
Yeah, and vice versa, Riley. I mean, your willingness to allow us to take the opportunity to come to Artpace is really special for us. As I said, I've been involved with Artpace for close to 20 years now, and you know, it is really one of the reason we do these programs is because we want to find the greatest residency programs in the country. And I can tell this group today that this is one of the greatest residency programs in the country. So if you can find your way to it, it would be a really special experience, everybody. Thank you, guys. I know everybody's focusing on COVID. And like I said, we're going to do our best, you know, to make that work. But we are not going to stop with these opportunities. You know, if we can't do it now, we'll do it later. So I would encourage you to apply and to be chosen. And everybody have a great night. I see a lot of friends on here tonight. So thank you guys for reaching out and spending the time with us.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Riley.
Thank you.